I travelled from the woodcutters camp um, alone on forest trails and found the prison of Mon by divination. At least that's what I believe. And it was a very strange place that looked deserted from the outside, half carved out of a mountain, half built onto a mountain. When I climbed the long stone steps and went in, there were clearly supernatural guardians standing outside doors in a long corridor. And I walked past them, and they didn't stop me. And in the end, I came to a gate, I think, and it was I can't think I hammered on the gate or something like that. But at last, I met the humans, the human guards of this place, the captain and the prison governor, maybe, and convinced them to allow me to talk to the witch I had come to see, whose name was Calg, and Calg wouldn't strike a bargain. Twice she wouldn't strike a bargain. Her only demand was to be free, kind of on parole, with my soul and my freedom on the line if she didn't come back. And I wasn't having that. I offered her the chance to do some good, and she wasn't interested. And much to my own surprise, really, with sorcery of my own, I compelled her to help me. And it was from that I learned the nature of the beast that stalks the Star Woods, that it's a Wendigo, like a hungry spirit. And somewhere in Star Woods, there must be the place where the terrible deed that gave rise to the Wendigo occurred. And if I can find that spot, then I can undo the curse. Although it's unclear to me how as yet, I am confident, because anyone who knows Hergest knows that that's his main characteristic.
It really is.
I'm confident when I find the spot, I will be able to divine or intuit what I must do to undo the curse. Finding the spot is either going to really stretch his divination skills, which are, he's a real novice, or he's going to have to find the mad monk Geral again, and hope that Geral can have some kind of knowledge of his own. And I think that's what I decide to do. I think as I'm leaving the prison of Mon, although outwardly I'm confident, the notion that this is a hunt for a needle in a haystack occurs to him, and I think he's going to start by following the trails back to where he first met the mad monk Geral.
Cool. It's a good call. Makes sense. Cool.
But as I go, I will.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brian. Yeah, as I go, I will. As I go, I will have my little pendulum, and I will be divining to see if I can get any sense of. I think the creation of a Wendigo must be a sort of an act of power, and it must leave echoes or ripples. And I think Hergest kind of reasons to himself that if he can pick up these ripples or these echoes, maybe he can get some clue. Maybe it'll be shown in other signs,
Totally. That totally makes sense. Cool. So you're headed back to the land of four-leaf clover, which was, if I don't actually remember, but it was not too far. It was towards the camp, right? Like it was somewhere in between. the camp and the monastery, Felsted Monastery. Right?
Yeah, I think instead of heading southeast, I'm more or less heading slightly north of east.
Yep. Yeah, it was somewhere right there. So probably almost straight east. Yeah, exactly, northeast. Yeah. Yeah, you get. So yeah, you're because it's not gonna be. Let's see, this is not gonna be that far, right? Like, and you get like a couple hours in, and you hear, twig snap or maybe even calling that almost sounds like your name from behind you, from back towards where you came.
Does it sound like someone is coming after me?
Maybe.
I think I step behind a tree and wait. I place my herbalist pack down and I heft my staff in two hands.
Mm-hmm. Can you believe I forgot?
In case I need it.
Come on. I'm doing weather because it's fun. I don't even need to do this actually. Yeah, cool. It's a very sunny day. Yeah, so you're hankering down behind the tree, not sure what the fuck is going on, and you see Captain Kell, and you can see his face. Yeah, and he's calling your name. Periodically.
Yeah, he's on his own. Is he? He's not.
On his own.
He's not sword drawn. I'm not. Yeah.
Nope.
He doesn't look like he's got ill intentions.
Nope.
Okay, I step out then.
He says, "There you are."
What brings you after me, Captain?
I thought you could use a hand. Can you?
Well, these are sometimes dangerous lands, I understand.
He explains, like, he they don't have a lot of vacation days, but he was able to finagle.
I got that impression from how happy they were to talk to me. Yeah.
Yeah, like like in you guys had a interesting connection. I think I think he even said that, like, if he wasn't busy, he would come with you, because I mean, you're not super far from doing what he does, which is find bad guys and keep people safe. But yeah, so he came after you all this way. It's like, if you don't need my help, it's fine, but like, I'm here to offer you.
No,
and he does have a sword.
You're very welcome. I traveled to the woodcutters' camp in the company of Sir Eldred, who was staying at the monastery. Perhaps you saw him on one of your visits there.
And he did, for sure.
But he's recovering from an injury delivered by the creature I am seeking to, well, I suppose, free from its suffering. And so, that's why I travelled alone to the prison of Mon. So yeah, your company is very welcome. I thank you for the offer, and I'll tell him where I'm looking for and why.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I don't know that he would know the four-leaf clover spot, but yeah, he would know Sir Eldred, right? Like, not a lot, because like Eldred was there to get away from being a soldier, probably more than anything. Kell is definitely a veteran of some war, Yeah. So, and he gives you, right, like, it's like, I don't know. Right. I think he did mention that, like, they draw straws to see who gets to go back and forth between, the prison and the monastery. Cause, like, why wouldn't you want to get out of there? Right. Like, and that's the vibe he would be giving you.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, I don't think that Hergest makes much small talk as they travel. He's still he's still divining, but I think he feels, he can't help but feel safer in the company of Captain Kelm.
Yeah.
Um, and that's all to the good. Maybe that feeling of safety can speed up the search a bit because he's not constantly looking over his shoulder or um, starting at every sound in the woods.
Yeah, and Kel would probably follow your lead, right? He's probably used to being on the march and like in the woods with small numbers, and you guys probably would be fairly quiet or at least talk in hushed tones, right? Like he'd probably be very used to that, I would think.
Yeah, I don't think it's so much the stealthy thing. It's more Hergest is just being very businesslike about it, and he's,
Cool.
he's probably got 100 things to say. He'd quite like to he'd quite like to ask Kel, um, what he knows of the lady who was staying at the monastery, but he doesn't. He keeps that to himself and is
Sure.
businesslike.
Sure. Okay. Cool. Um. Yes. There's nothing super weird. This didn't take you long to get back to the clover. Yeah.
Is Jarrell there?
You do not see the monk, but right, like I'll just leave it at that. You just don't see him.
Any signs of his passage? He's been here.
Uh, I think you could see that he has been here. Like you were here not too long ago. You can probably also see uh, where what's his name dug up some of the clover for your tea. I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
you might see yeah, I think you would find, especially you are rightly being a herbalist, you're used to rooting around in, in bushes and such, I would imagine. So I think you would probably see fresher tracks than that, and maybe he is here, right? Like, or has been here recently, or will be back soon. You don't know.
Yeah, okay. So I say to Cal, let's light a fire and I shall make some tonic with the clover
Mm,
and perhaps the smoke and our presence will bring Jarrell back. And if not, um then we will continue our search for him until dark and find somewhere to camp.
sounds great. Tell me about this
So
tonic. What can I do to help?
yeah, well, I look at him and I sort of judge him to be unsuitable apprentice material, and I just send him to collect dry dead wood for the fire, and
Mm-hmm.
I cut my own clover and put a brew on once we have the fire lit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, and you guys are just kind of like kicking it by the fire. This plan makes perfect sense. If you tell
Yep, I
him that
shall
you're waiting for the monk, yeah, he's like, yeah,
yep,
that makes sense. Let's do it. And
I shall
probably
do
to
a little bit
kill.
of
Go ahead.
I was just going to
Do a
say,
little.
sorry, Brian. I was just going to say I'll do a little
Yeah.
bit of divining with the pendulum.
Yeah.
Um, asking the pendulum where the place that the Wendigo was created is from here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and see what happens. But yeah, mostly waiting quietly and sipping the clover tonic and enjoying the sunny afternoon, I suppose.
Yeah. And Kel would probably, like ask you about, like, cool. So, how are we finding this thing? Right? Like, he'd be curious. Like, he's got, he probably doesn't divulge exactly how long he's got, but he's got a few days to kill. Um,
I'll
and
say,
he's
do you know?
curious. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Do you know of any stories of people being lost or going missing or having to do terrible things to survive. It doesn't really matter how old these stories are, but perhaps they date back to a terrible winter or events so awful that they are just whispered about on the edge of stories.
Mm.
We're looking for a place. We're looking for a place like that, where a terrible thing happened.
Yeah, and he says he totally understands the prison is one of those kind of places, right? Like you feel despair in there, right? Like,
Yeah.
and it gnaws at you. He's like, it's nice to take a break, honestly. Um, and you can see it in his eyes, right? Like that place fucks him up, right? Like he's fucked up by that, and just when he's talking about it for a second, he'll have that long stare, right? Like and low voice, and just like, yeah, God, it's unbearable sometimes, and then snaps out of it.
The place we're looking for was a place of hunger and despair, and perhaps of murder and cannibalism. Do you know of any such story?
He says I don't know specifically of cannibalism, but these are old woods, right? Like a lot of rumors about a lot of bad things. It does not surprise me, you know, because you guys have talked about the Wendigo. He probably knows what a Wendigo is, or at least you've explained it to him enough. And he's like, I've definitely heard some horror stories, curses, and that sort of thing coming out of here. It's a magical, weird, dark magic kind of place. It's, and the deeper you go in, the weirder it gets, right?
Okay. So I was hoping that perhaps there might be some stray tale, but he doesn't know anything specific, but that's fine. We'll wait and see if Jarrell turns up in the time it takes us each to in the time it takes us to brew the tonic and each drink a cup. And no worries if he doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And he would ask about the divination thing. What does it look? It's just like a little pendulum guy that you're spinning on a chain or something?
I have a pendulum. When we started, Hergest had some old charms which are kind of related to ancient healing or herbalist magic. And he's taken one of those, which may be a little carving of maybe it's a carving of a seal actually. And he's turned that into a pendulum. And so he asks the pendulum questions in kind of a dowsing style. So he'll say, which way, or for a positive or a negative, and he'll try and interpret the responses and hope that he's tuning in. Yeah, and I think he'll spend a little while trying to tune in to these echoes that he reasons must be there, and try to get a general direction of the site that he's looking for by tuning in.
Yeah, totally. And he would look at the pendulum quite surprised, like, is it really that easy?
Because these are magical woods, and because he had that experience of it apparently leading to the Prison of Mon, he's not 100% confident in his own ability to read it, but he's going. But it's not like it's not so much he's doubting its easiness. It's more like doubting his interpretation of it. But he's got nothing else to go on right now until he finds Jarrell, at least. So if the pendulum gives him a strong answer, like it's looking like it's saying, south southeast strongly, then that's the way he's going to walk, because he's got nothing else to go on unless he finds the mad monk and the mad monk knows something.
Totally.
And he's seen enough on this journey to know that or to strongly believe that he can use a little bit of magic and that these things can work for him. So, and he's also weirdly confident. That's a name that he has. So the weird confidence is, yeah, the weird confidence. He said he stands up and he'll say to Kel, "The pendulum says this way. I'm going to follow it. Perhaps Jarrell will find us from our trail."
And when you spin around to point to the way you're intending to go, you both notice that the monk is standing there. You're pointing right at him.
Okay. Good day.
He just came like from
I say.
out of nowhere. He came from like out of nowhere. Neither of you guys heard or saw him coming.
Right. Is that because he has natural stealth, or because in some sense he seems to be supernatural?
That, I mean, that's a good question. Like, maybe yes. Right? Like,
Okay.
that's probably how you would. That's certainly how it's presented to you, right? Like, to your character. I would suggest yes, he does, but that's to you more, right? Like,
Okay.
you definitely get the vibe, right? Like, especially you know, like you've got that magic vibe, right? Like, magic recognizes magic. Yes, maybe
Working on it anyway. Yeah. I approach him. Is he a big? He's a big man. Is he
Yeah,
dressed
he
in
is.
pink or something like that?
Yep, bright pink.
Yeah.
I think he's wearing sandals, right? And he would say to you, he probably first, you know, like you guys would kind of stare each other down, and then he would start laughing, and he would say, "Hergest, last time we met, I was looking for a door, but I can see now you are looking for a door."
I am looking for a place. There may be a door to it, or in a sense, you may be the door if you know the place, and you will open yourself to me.
And he, are you still cooking your tea?
I think we've probably finished it and cleared up the fire and covered it with a bit of turf and made sure it's tidy.
Mm-hmm. He would pull out like a bottle, let's say, and he would say, "Have you been?" He'd say, I assume you have not been to the place you're seeking."
I don't believe so. I think I would have known it. I think I would have known it had I been there, because I'm looking for a cursed place, I say frankly.
Mm. And he would probably he would slightly ask, like, "It's a strange man." This would not be a question, but he would say, "Strange man that looks for a cursed place."
I have told you before, Jarrell, that I'm a healer. I would like to make this cursed place whole, in order that the effects of that healing will go out to those who have been hurt by it, including myself. I carry inside of me part of the hunger which stems from that cursed place, and I must go there to sate the hunger forever.
And he says, "I can help." Hands you the let's say it's essentially a flask.
Is this to be drunk? I say.
Yes, very powerful medicine. Concentrate. First, let's get you comfortable. This is going to take a while.
Okay, well, I cautiously I'll do what he says because I know
Yeah,
he is an unusual man. But
he
I'll
seems
tell
way
Kel that.
more lucid this time than last time you saw him, for sure.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Kel's
I'm
not
sorry to
far
interrupt.
anyway, but
Yeah, Kel's just like Kel knows who he is, right? Like he's met him before,
yeah,
and he's just there, kind of following your lead. This he's like, I don't know, these magic nerds. But I don't know.
yeah, okay,
And he would say, like there's he's probably with you. There's probably some herbs and stuff, right? Like he might even ask you if you have yada yada. We're gonna get you comfortable because this is gonna, yeah, you're going on a little trip, right? Won't be that bad.
okay,
And like like he's writing the like marking with chalk like on your hands. He also might like brush your face down to close your eyes, and he's marking the outside your eyelids with some chalk, giving you some eyes on your eyelids. Just
nice,
giving you some runes and that sort of thing, just marking you down.
yeah,
Like maybe kind of taking this amalgamation of like various roots and herbs, tying them
yeah,
up, right? Like maybe burning them a little, and like setting them on you, like on your chest or something, not to burn you, but like to give you the vibe.
yeah.
And and then he gives you the nod. uh,
I take just a drop. I say,
mm, Solid swig.
I look at Captain Kel and I say, you're
You
staying.
probably don't. Yeah, you probably don't have to. He would already have the eyes like, yeah, I understand, right? Like you guys would have that
Okay,
like vibe, and like because you're both like, uh, if you're gonna do this, I got your back, but like, good luck.
okay, yeah, I do it.
Cool.
From the smell,
Mm-hmm.
can I work out any of the um ingredients or the purpose of it?
Um.
I take it it's like a hallucinogenic.
Yeah. So. So it's like it's like this thick, slimy liquid, right? Uh, and it's like it smells really bad. Like, but like, what doesn't, right? Like, it smells like it smells a little bit like barf, right? Like, and you like maybe you put a little in your fingers, like to look at it. It's almost got like a metallic color to it, right?
Right.
Um, yeah, and in time, like you kind of zonk out, right? Like, um,
As expected. Yeah.
yeah, and he would have told like concentrate on what you're looking for, right? Like, so like,
Okay. So I concentrate
yeah,
very much in the same way as I have been with the divining on the site where I imagine the Wendigo came into existence.
mm-hmm,
A terrible spot. A terrible place where a curse can be undone.
yeah. What might a place like that look like or feel like, right? What's the vibe of it?
Okay, so I think so it I think it would be a place that would be a natural It would be a place that would be a natural camp, the kind of place that people would probably look to hide or to ride out rough weather. And so
Mm.
it would, you know, at first glance, outwardly, it would appear to be a welcoming place. But it's the kind of place that if you came across it in the woods, you would suddenly look over your shoulder, and then you'd realize that all the hairs on the back of your neck were standing up,
Mm-hmm.
and then you would want to leave. And if you didn't leave, probably, I don't know, but Hergest would imagine, probably if you didn't leave, you would find sun-bleached bones lying in the grass, or half buried under the accumulated soil of the years, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe a weapon left, or signs of some terrible, terrible tragedy.
Mm-hmm. And
But a
you
place that you
see,
would want to leave, right?
yeah. And you do see a really big tree that is got is hollowed out enough that it looks like it could be like a place to to wait out, bad weather or sleep. It's almost, like it's big enough for a man. You could fit in there, no problem.
Yeah.
But in this case, this tree is like it's all like twisted around and like basically looks dead now. Uh, do you hear any birds or anything? What's the temperature like?
I think maybe it feels. I think maybe it's a place that should be a sun trap, because it's the kind of place that looks like it was chosen because it looked good.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a trap. But it's a kind. Maybe it's like an old trap in itself, in a way. Like the spirits of the land aren't kind. So the sun's shining on it. You said it's a sunny
Mm-hmm.
day. The sun's
It
shining on
is.
it, but it feels cold. But it feels
Yeah,
cold.
exactly. And it is really sunny, and you can tell it, right, like, because it's unusually sunny today. It was like aggressively sunny. Like it was kind of a hotter than normal day for, this is basically autumn, right? Um, and you could feel the sun, and you can feel the sun in your mind as well, right? Like, because you're basically dreaming right now, so you can feel the sun, and yet, yeah, there's a weird chill, and it's like there's like someone has definitely people or person, something has died here, right? Like you get that vibe, right? Like it's that like in your gut vibe, that
Right.
kind of, right? It's like that you've probably been in like a house where you're like, oh, okay. I I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm thinking of Dachau immediately, right? Like it's like, oh, gotcha. No one had to tell me
Yeah.
what this place was, right?
A bad place. Yeah. But I
Yeah.
think if Hergest can, while he's on this trip, he's going to try and work out. He's going to try to triangulate how to get here from where he is now. So he's going to turn and check out the hills, and try to work out if he had to get back to where his body is, which way
Hmm.
he could go, so that when he wakes up in his body, he knows which way to go to get here. Do you see what I mean?
I do. Uh,
Yeah.
as you're turning around, you're like, um, it's you're like, this is weird, but there are no birds, right? You hear nothing. It's
Yeah.
dead silent, right? This place, you're just looking around, and it's surrounded by life, at in a distance. Everything's back to normal, but this place is just like, it looks like it's been burned, but no, not fire. Um, you're probably in the woods. You can't really see which way the mountains or the sea is, right? So you're
Right.
but this, you can see the sun, and you're like, okay, cool, and you can see that you're in like, it's deeper into the forest, more where the loggers were with the tall trees, right? Like the old growth. You're in that
Yeah.
part, so it you would guess just from like the vibe, because you walk the loggers were at kind of like at the beginning of the big big trees, right? And you see no small. It's just, you're like, the loggers
This is all
would
old.
eventually
This is
get
all old
here.
growth stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're in the old part of the forest. Do you see anything else that might tip you off that this is the place?
I guess he'll steal himself, or I will steal myself, and I will go to the heart of the site, however scary it might be,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I'm going to open myself to seeing the past
Mm-hmm.
in
And
case I can, in case I
so,
can.
like, going to like the tree, what are you checking out?
Yeah, I'll check the ground, and then maybe I'll walk around the tree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'll try to learn what happened, or even if I only see a flash of what happened.
Totally. Yeah. So you dig in the dirt, or, like, it seems like the tree is the is the focus. It's a
Yeah,
very big tree, right? um, you dig in the dirt a bit, and you definitely find little shards of bone, right? Like,
right.
um, you walk around the tree and investigate, and you start to like see, they look mostly like this tree has been twisted and weird now, right? Like, it has no life to it, right? It's the one dead thing surrounded, like, by more death, and then for, like, n feet or meters if you'd prefer. Let's say 3 meters.
Yes, please.
I don't
Yes,
know.
please.
I don't know what 3 meters means. But anyway, so
It's 10 feet. 10 feet. Yeah, yeah.
cool. There we go. But you start recognizing patterns in the twists and the knots and the things, and you can see they're kind of like weird runes, right? Like, it's almost, these are not carved. It's almost like the tree is created and twisted into rune shapes naturally, almost, right? Like,
Wow. Okay.
so yeah, you're definitely getting the vibe that you have found your spot.
Okay. So, am I in my dream? Am I, or on my trip? Am I clothed and equipped as I am in normal life? So, if I reach into my pocket, do I have my pendulum for dowsing?
You do not.
Ah, okay.
Sorry, I rolled for
So,
it.
that's fine. So I think I start to. It's the afternoon, so I start to walk towards the sun.
Mhm.
That's towards the west for a way, looking back the whole time until I get a view of those hills and mountains in the distance.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And when I can,
Go ahead.
and when I can see the mountains, and when I get a view of the mountains, and I can turn around and see the spot. So however, if that's like a hundred meters, or a couple of 100 feet or whatever, I I try to get a fix on a view. Like, right
Mm-hmm.
now I can see the flank of that mountain and the peak of that one and the line of that hill, so that I have an idea of at least like the latitude, the where I have to come to in my waking body.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, and so you're walking through the woods, and it's a little foggy, right? Um,
Yeah.
but you get not you're back in the growth section outside of the dead, and it's starting to get foggy, but you do see a really bright pink tree.
Oh, so that corresponds to Jarell, I presume. Um, so I go up to the tree and um try and work out, try and again look for landmarks, and I pat the trunk of the tree and say, I'm sure you will know where this is.
Mm-hmm.
And then I turned around. I turn around and I go back towards the dark spot to try and walk around it again, looking for landmarks. I need to know the area, so when I'm here in my waking body, I can't just walk straight past it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. And uh yeah, so you're just like you're constantly going, remember this spot, remember this thing, concentrate on this
Yeah,
space. Um, burn this into my brain, right?
yeah.
Uh, yeah, and like wake in a sweat. It's night, right? It is dark, pitch black. There is a fire by you, a good one, burning, and you can see the monk
Okay.
kind of like dancing in the moonlight, kind of thing, in the distance in his pink robes. And you see, uh, yeah, Kel is like, "Welcome back. How you feel?"
I feel really, really sinisterly hungry, and I must eat. And I
Totally.
can't. I eat
Mm-hmm.
furiously. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um. Uh, and then um. And then I say to Jarell, I saw the place. Thank you. Um. If I tell you about it, perhaps you will be able to help us find it and speed up my search.
And he says, "Not me, Hergest." And he hands you a big, like a good hunk of chalk. You must draw your door now.
Oh, ah, an actual door.
And he's like walking around, and you can see him um, like smacking a tree, and then there's a sizable there like a nice flat rock. He's like, and he points at that at the rock. That should do. It's like
Okay.
a big stone, part of just an outgrowth. But yeah, it's nice and flat.
So I so I suppose I wait for whatever inspiration might come to me, and I draw it on that rock.
Exactly. That's what he would say. It's just, like
Oh,
picture it
it
in your
might it
mind
might
as
be
you're drawing
something
the
I
door.
saw. Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess it might be something I saw on the tree. It might be some of
Yeah.
those runes, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. He's probably just saying over and over, just draw your door, right? Like, you know what it looks like. Draw your door.
I expect it ends up looking like a copy of the weird signs on the trunk of the dead tree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, like, what do you do? Like, how big is your door? like,
Well, it's the whole size of the rock, I think, and it's
yeah, like you size,
I
really,
think
right? So a door,
as I've
right?
said,
Yeah.
Hergest is, as we know, Hergest is weirdly confident. So once he gets the idea in his head that those are the symbols that he's seen, and he's used to the notion of magical symbols, he copies them from his memory onto the rock, big and bold, and and door size.
Mm-hmm. You draw the door. Uh, do you look to the monk, or do you just I assume you draw a handle or of some ilk, right?
Well, yeah, maybe it's yeah, I guess. I guess Hergest is probably interpreting it as very much a metaphorical magical door, so the handle might be something to touch or whatever rather than a handle to turn. But yeah, he'll know when he'll know when it's complete, I guess, because it's probably all he can remember.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you've gotten all that you can remember, um, if you look at the monk just nods and like says, "Open your door." Shall we roll?
Okay. Yeah.
Two
What
d
should I
six.
roll? 2d6.
Yeah,
Um,
you're a magic
where am
user.
I?
You're a
Let me
hedge
tell you.
mage. Mm.
4 and a 4.
Yeah. Um. Did you make what kind of handle would you have made?
I think it's very much a metaphorical handle, like a rune that's that's meant to sort of when you touch it and you spread your hand out on it, it's meant to make the whole thing function, like all of the bits come together and join, and the whole thing works.
Yeah, and you reached for the handle, and like you can feel the handle, even though it's like it's just you just wrote it with chalk, but it is you can it's physical in your hand. Want
Okay.
to turn it?
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm. And like and the door opens like there is a door, and it is dark in there, right? Like it's night wherever it is, right on the other side of this door.
So I look to Kel to make sure he's with me, and
Oh yeah,
I go into this space.
yeah, and Kel looks like oddly not surprised somehow. Right? Like
Well, to be fair,
yeah, he's
he lives in a pretty fucking weird place.
totally, and yeah, he just follows you right through the door. Um, he probably grabs a torch, even right, like
Okay.
because it's dark in there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and you go through, and it does look familiar, right?
It looks like the place that I saw earlier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no pink
Cool.
tree, um, but like yeah, you're like, okay, it's the right spot. You just like you're walking around, and then you think you see it in the dark, right? Like, and I assume you just head there.
Yes.
Yep.
I guess. How much of the night is left?
Uh, it is hard to say. Let's see what. Um, yeah, like it's probably right around midnight.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll go there. I mean, as Kel brought a torch, we'll go there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's not saying shit, right? You probably get a vibe that he's scared or excited or like tense, right? Like cool. Um, yeah, and so it's the tree,
Okay.
and Kel probably would say like, "Is this a place?"
This is the place I saw. Well, when I wasn't myself, when I was out of myself. Um, and it's
Well,
a
no,
terrible place. You can probably feel it. I can feel it
yeah,
now.
yeah. He's like, this feels like the prison. What the fuck do we do now?
That, my friend, is a very good question. Um, there must be a way of healing this place. I'm not sure we can do it in the middle of the night. It may involve giving a proper burial to the bones that are here, sanctifying the place in some way, blessing it in some way. I can use herbs to bring a blessing on the land, but whether that would be powerful enough, I don't know. Or it may be that we must hope the creature itself comes and meets us here. Patience, I think. And Hergest looks around.
He looks at Kel looks at the torch and he looks at the trees like, I don't know, fire is pretty. is purging. He's like, but you do you. And he's just following your lead.
Well,
like
I hadn't. Yeah, I mean, the tree is dead, and I must admit, Captain, it didn't strike me. That we should burn the tree, but let's keep that in reserve.
Mm-hmm.
It's certainly one option. Yeah, and I think I will start. I'll start investigating the bones and seeing what I find and collecting them up, right? And sort of seeing what we've got here, whether one person died or whether it's a bloody boneyard or a massacre. What, I'll see what I can find.
Kel would start gathering some wood from wherever he can to build a fire, if that's okay.
Yeah. I'm not the boss.
Cool.
I'm not the boss of him.
Yeah, okay, cool. He's going to make a little fire. Like, he's like, yeah, and he'd say, like, is this going to fuck you up? It's fucking cold.
It's a cold spot. And I keep looking at the tree and thinking about what he said and wondering whether it can be as simple as just burn the tree. But I want to do right by whoever suffered here. So I'm going to try to find out what I can. It's dark, right? And there's hours of nighttime left. Probably won't be light for another 7 hours or something.
Yeah.
But by the light of the torch, I'll see what I can find.
Cool. I mean, once he has the fire going, he'd hand you the torch if you wanted it.
Yeah.
And probably, fashioning a second one. Because, just being prepared.
Yeah.
Sitting by the fire. Cool. Tell me what you want to do.
Well, that's what I'm doing. I'm searching. I'm searching for bones. I'm seeing what I can find out about the place, Brian. Do I find a skull or do I find innumerable skulls? Do I find,
right.
that one body has fallen here, or do I find everywhere that I look there are bones? What do I find?
Yeah, you find like it looks like different fragments. It doesn't look like it's smaller fragments, but like if you, with enough light and enough time, you can see like, yeah, there might be like 8 bodies, different body fragments here, right? Like, well, this one doesn't look like that one, and this one is a female, right? Or whatever it is, right? Like whatever it is.
Yeah.
Are you trying to just scoop them together kind of thing? And like,
yes, sort of scoop them together and treat them with some care, care that these people didn't know. Kind of laying them out in the firelight like incomplete jigsaws of people, just to get a sense of what happened here. Are there, what kind of injuries I can see? I'm a healer, right? So I might be able to deduce what some of these people died from if they were murdered.
Yeah, not being a cannibal, I don't know what human bones look like when they've been eaten, but that's what you would surmise.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so archaeologists, paleontologists usually find like scrape marks on the bones from where the flesh
Mm-hmm.
has been separated, and distinct
Mm-hmm.
cut markings at the joints from where the
That would
muscle's
make
been
sense.
taken off.
Totally.
Yeah. Um. Wow. Okay. So yeah, Hergest is. I think Hergest is probably weeping as he collects these bones, but
Mm-hmm.
he's trying to do right by them, right? So he's trying to treat them like they were people, or like they are people,
Mm-hmm.
and lining them up on the ground by the fire. And he's glad he's done it now, because I think just setting fire to the tree without trying to understand it would have not felt right to him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he'll carry on until dawn if that's, unless he just runs out, unless he stops finding bits. He's going to encourage Kel to keep a watch in case the the tragic owner, if you like, of this site comes back. But he's going to carry on with this kind of reverent work, this healing work.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, and morning, dawn is approaching. Like it's starting to get light. Um,
Okay. And have I run out of bits to collect?
yeah. Are you
Okay. So I
burying
think I
them, or are you
will.
just like
Yeah.
holding them?
When
Yeah.
I've
Okay.
when I've counted them, when I've
Mm-hmm.
counted them and I found the skulls, I will build a cairn, and I'll build a cairn on them together. So I'm gonna,
Mm-hmm.
as soon as dawn arrives, I'm gonna start collecting big mountain stones, and I'll get Kel to help me,
Yeah,
like
for
the
sure.
kind
Yeah,
of
he will.
stones that you need to carry with two hands, and we'll build a cairn. And the cairn will be a little bit away from this terrible spot, like at least 10 paces away from where they lay under the tree.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And yeah, it takes you guys a while, but yeah, you build the cairn.
And then I I think I decorate the cairn with a wreath of some plant, some some forest plant, which is picked by country folk for good luck or for healing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I make a wreath of this, quite a big
Rand
wreath, right?
Rando says bay leaves protection divination success, but I don't know how big live bay leaves are. Whatever.
Um,
But that's good.
something,
Yeah.
something, yeah, something similar to that, maybe. Or a mixture, you know,
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, that's fine.
of gorse in flour, and a big old wreath. And
Mm-hmm.
I want to make this work, right? So I want to say some words over it of putting these people to rest, of allowing them to rest and lifting the curse.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is an act of magical healing.
Cool. Let's do it. Let's roll it up.
Hmm. And I'm putting a lot of, I mean, I've put a lot of physical effort into this. I feel like Hergest is putting a lot of himself into it as well, because he knows how important it is to get rid of this hunger. A
Not
5
bad.
and a 1.
Yeah, that's good. Uh yeah, and it definitely has a vibe of some healing, right? Like um
Then we'll
like
burn
it.
the tree.
Oh yeah, it's cool. Like, and you can tell like Kel is like eager to burn the tree now. It's like, this place is fucking weird, but so yeah, you guys will toss shit in there for sure. And it burns.
We've done our best by the victims, and the cairn is there a little way from the tree, and then as the dawn light turns into proper daylight, we'll pile a fire around the base of the trunk and we'll burn this cursed tree down.
Yeah. And the tree being old burns like so fast, right? But the forest is fine because everything around, within it's perfect for burning the tree because in 10 feet there's nothing close to it and it's green. So that's pretty
It's the
safe.
autumn anyway, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's also cold. Yeah. And you guys are just like kind of waiting, right? Like, and
Yeah. We'll sit and we'll watch the fire. We'll watch it go up.
yeah, and you guys are doing that. The fire feels really good, right? It's cold morning. And Kel starts looking up into the sky.
At the column of smoke.
Mm-hmm. But also looking around.
What are you thinking? I'll say.
I thought I heard something.
I think I stand up and get my staff ready. If the thing still exists, it moves fast and attacks out of thin air. Be ready.
And he's just looking up
into the sky. I'll look with him, I suppose, but I'm not entirely ignoring our surroundings because this thing appears magically, right?
Mm-hmm. And you guys are like in this moment for a while, and then you do hear something. You hear a really loud, like distant shriek from above.
What's up there?
And he doesn't answer, and he's just kind of looking. And right, like the smoke, and you see a huge winged thing fly over.
Just fly over.
So far.
Like a big bird or like a big lizard?
Like a big worm.
Okay. Well, that's a surprise. It's seen the smoke. We should probably retreat. We've done all we can here.
Mm. And you're like headed into the forest?
Yeah, maybe we're headed towards. I need to go and check on the other people who are ill, and I need to pay attention to myself to see whether this curse has lifted. So we need to head towards the loggers' camp if Kel can come with me that far.
Mm-hmm. And he's still looking up at the sky, just like unmoving.
Come on, let's go.
And then you hear a really loud, really close shriek come from above. It is piercing, right?
I push him and say, run. Under the trees now.
Yeah, and you kind of push him towards the trees and right out of the sky because you're right in a clearing. Like, let's see. I haven't actually rolled for this. Yeah. A really large dragon drops right down in the clearing right next to you and does the fucking crazy loud scream right in your face. And Kel seems to be like just frozen.
Yeah. I'm pushing him. I'm pushing him if he falls over and snaps out of it, and then I'll just push him towards the trees. So we put some distance between ourselves and this thing.
Yeah, and he kind of just brushes you off and starts walking towards the dragon.
Okay. I mean, I'm not strong enough to stop him, so I shall stand and watch.
Mm-hmm. He throws his sword down. And the dragon does the whole like lowering its head down, and he starts climbing onto the dragon.
Okay, I'm still watching.
And as he's climbing, it's one of those things where it's Kel, it's the witch.
Ah.
And she is now sitting on top of the dragon. And the dragon you can see is like coming for you, and you can just barely hear her. Now. He was good enough to free me. And she looks at you and she says, "You should be running."
I'm not going to give you the satisfaction.
And you can see, like, you can probably see her crack a smile. I can't remember you pulled the fool when you were in the cell, out, talking to her through the cell, and that's what she's thinking. She's like, "Once a fool, always a fool." And the dragon just takes off up in the sky. It's gone.
Wow. So Kel freed her, and she posed as him.
Maybe.
No?
I mean,
okay.
Do you want me to tell you?
Well, no, not if I wouldn't know. I mean, that's how it seems. It seems like, I don't believe I freed her. And she said he was good enough to free me.
He was meaning you.
I don't see.
She meant you.
Well, okay. Well, fine. Okay. I don't know how I freed her.
Yeah, you wouldn't know. I mean, I will tell you eventually, but yeah, you did.
Well, what I'm interested in really is not the goings on with one witch so much as whether I've lifted the curse from this place, and whether I'm furiously hungry or not.
Why don't you roll a 6? Yeah, D6. Let's see.
Did the last roll not cover that?
I mean, I want to. It's just fun. I want to see how hungry you are. You're starving, but it's not insatiable. With a 6. Sorry, I was just fucking with you. You look around and you're starving because it's been man, what a fucking night, right? Just been a long night, and you just were face to face with a dragon and are very confused. But I think you find a new growth in the ash of the tree if you're going to sit there that long.
I might go and look at it once the tree's finished burning, and I think then I will head towards the loggers' camp.
Yeah, you're probably a long way from the loggers' camp.
Yeah, but that's the only place I've got to head, right? And I've got patience there, and the boy Estebar is there, so that's the way I've got to go.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, and eventually, if as you're walking, like you'll get your bearings, you'll see the mountains on your left. You know what I mean? And you'll know that eventually you'll get to the camp because
Yeah, I mean, even if I cross a path that I know must lead there, that will be enough, and then I'll turn and head towards it, I guess.
mm-hmm.
Um, and the order of business is aim to arrive there today or tomorrow, I suppose, and check on Sir Eldred and Estebar and the woman, Twig, who was bitten
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Um, yeah, like do we want to do another session of this, or do we just want to wrap it up?
I feel like if you definitively tell me, I'm not saying anything right now, right? You have to definitively tell me I've lifted the curse and everyone's better, and the hungry spirit walks no more, and then I'm happy to wrap.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, then I would say you are probably over a day from the loggers camp, and you're
Yep.
probably trying to go as fast as you can. You probably right, like this is just like you're probably constantly hungry, even though you can tell that you're okay, but like yeah, you're just hoofing it. You would get back there, and yeah, in that time they have been healed, or are on the mend, right? Like they are no longer the sweaty mess. They look a lot skinnier. um, but
So
you feel like yeah, everything is cool.
I'll tell Lena Thorne that I believe the curse to be lifted.
Mm-hmm.
And when the three of us are feeling well enough, we will head north and back to the Abbey.
Mm-hmm.
Remaining business there is to tell the abbess what happened and pen a letter to the prison
Mm.
about the escape of the witch,
Mm-hmm.
um, asking what happened because I still don't. If I played a part in her escape, I don't know. I don't know it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and and then I think the story, as far as Hergest the healer is concerned, would end with him finally getting to spend some time with
In
the
the
books
library.
in the Abbey library, and perhaps getting to know that noblewoman who is staying there as well.
Yeah, and maybe even writing the tale down in a book, right? Like adding to the library. If that's
I
something
might
Hergus
write
does.
a, yeah, I might write some notes towards something for when I'm at home. Yeah. Um, or even better, perhaps Hergest spends the winter at the Abbey rather than risk another seasick making sea voyage, with the wrong end of the year. So I spend the winter there and
That's
leave in
smart.
the spring. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that they would put you up, as like full helpful healer guy. You're now, like you've helped them out, done a great deed. I would think, yeah, they probably would eventually tell you that, yeah, Kel was killed. The witch took over his body.
Right. Well, she's on the loose, obviously, but I don't feel like that's Hergest's problem, probably.
No.
And I spend, he is weirdly confident. So one of the things he's weirdly confident about is that it wasn't his fault. And yeah, he spends the winter in the Abbey and might ask this noble lady to travel with him by ship to his home city in the spring.
I think we're just gonna leave it. Are we leaving it there? Do you actually want an answer? Because you're gonna have to roll for that.
Yeah, no, I mean we can leave it with him asking.
Yeah, totally. I think that's adorable.
I'm happy with that. Yeah,
cool.
Nice.
That was fun.
Okay, cool. Brilliant. Thank you, Brian. That was fun.
Yeah, I thought it was just like a little play. Like there wasn't, the resolution to. This is what was interesting about this, right? Like Hergest was more of just like a dude, right? Like, and getting help. I thought that was cool. Yeah, I thought a lot of it was cool. It's a unusual adventure, I guess. Would you say?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Hergest wasn't
You're not a superhero.
Not a take on and fight monsters kind of guy, but I think he could be a character. He could be a very useful character in an adventuring group. But it was a good explore, and from from Hergest's point of view, exploring, and he did what he set out to do, and there was a puzzle to be solved. So I thought it was quite a complete. I don't know what you mean when you say it was an unusual adventure. It seemed quite a reasonable adventure for an old herbalist on his own.
Yeah, it might just be from my perspective because I'm like, I'm not feeling like this because just how we set this up. It's just like this isn't like a stabby stab adventure. Not really, right? It's more like a ghost story, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, I kept trying to provoke you to send some. I tell you, Hergest would have been pretty deadly with that staff if he'd been attacked, but you didn't push him. So
it is true. No, like the witch was. The witch cracks a smile, right? Like I thought that was funny. She thought you were crazy. I'm sure, right? Like, you're staring down a dragon, and she tells you to run, and you won't. That's fucking.
Oh, I did consider. I mean, he would. Yeah. I mean, he's weird. Again, the thing that keeps on coming up. Once you've got a character who is weirdly confident, they're weirdly confident, and
exactly.
But one of the things he was confident of was if he ran, he'd be as dead as if he stood. He's an old boy, right? What's the point in running away from a situation like that? You're gonna get killed if she wants to kill you. Quick question for participants: do you mind folks referring to your games in the more general channel?
I don't know what that means, Zach.
Referring to your what does that mean,
Unmute.
Sorry. No, I was just these one-on-one plays, and you talking about being an old herbalist, and it reminds me of a couple of sessions from the Toa Tabletops. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that podcast, but the host Liam Stevens.
What's it called, Zach? What's the title?
Toa Tabletop.
TOA.
Yeah, it used to be Mud and Blood, but Liam Stevens is a New Zealander, a Maori, and so it's. But he and their Warhammer GM Sean did a couple of one-on-one sessions that were more or less along this kind of structureless kind of play, and it reminds me a little bit of that. And then when you mentioned that it was basically a ghost story, I'm like, that's perfect for one-on-one play because that's where you get the really impactful stuff. You don't get anyone else sort of breaking mood. Or anyway, congratulations. Exactly. That was really good to hear you guys play. I didn't hear much because I just came in at the end of the session, but I'll put what I was asking was like, hey, if I post, hey, your one-on-one session reminded me a lot of this link to another thing. That's all I was saying is you guys might have talked about your game in other general channels or something.
No, go ahead.
I don't. Fine. Super cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to.
I mean,